All right, guys, what's up? Good afternoon. It's the deadline. The deadline is here. By the time this video gets up, it will be a couple minutes past the deadline. So every team in the NFL at this point should be at 53 players. But some teams are choosing to announce their cuts well in advance. Some teams are choosing to announce their cuts right around the deadline. And then there are the Seattle Seahawks, who are one of the teams that are going to seemingly just kind of let the news of the cuts trickle out over the next few hours. So the team is down to 53 now. We just don't know exactly who got released to get down to 53. We know about half of it, maybe. I say we know about half of the work that has been done. So I think the best thing to do would be to just make a video with the known cuts as of right now, and then in a few hours make another video with the rest of the cuts, and then we'll know what the 53-man roster actually is. But the Seahawks are they're slow rolling this one out. They're kind of doing it like it's almost like the Oscars. It's like the reverse Oscars. They don't announce every single Oscar winner at once. They stretch it out over the course of a long ceremony. That's kind of what's happening here. So I'm going to go through the cuts in chronological order that we know about so far. Willie Roberts Jr. was yesterday, so we're not going to talk about him. We knew he was gone because of the trade. But today it started early with DJ James was the first announced release. This tweet from Brady Henderson at 9:19 a.m., so almost 4 hours ago. DJ James was the first casualty. Kind of good news because it means that Artie Burns is probably fine. I theorized that either Artie Burns or DJ James would make the team, and if DJ James is gone, that indicates that Artie Burns might be okay. There is a little bit of wiggle room there with a guy like Dee Williams maybe making the team instead, I guess, but this indicates that Artie Burns is probably okay. So hopefully DJ finds his way back to the practice squad, but he is now waived from his rookie contract. So that was the first one. Then we had a real big surprise at about 10 a.m. with George Holani. He got waived per Pelissaro here. And this one took me by surprise, and I'm not sure I like this one. Most teams carry four running backs. The Seahawks are probably going to need four running backs, and George Holani had a really nice preseason overall. And I don't necessarily believe you're going to get somebody too much better than him. Plus, I think there is some portion of his contract that was guaranteed. It's probably not a big deal, but he is going to get some money from us anyway. Now, hopefully he finds his way to the practice squad, but there's no guarantee of that. He looked good. A team might sign him. If every team in the league is going to carry four running backs, or most teams carry four running backs, then it's very possible. Now, maybe Seattle feels like they can get some running back snaps out of Shenault, but I don't know about this one. Not super optimistic he makes his way to the PS, but I hope he does because I like him and he had a good preseason. There were some areas he was better than McIntosh. Obviously, McIntosh won the job, which I think is the correct move, but Holani, I think, had space on this roster to make a difference. All right, next we had Jamie Sheriff. That was a little bit later. UDFA edge rusher Jamie Sheriff is being waived. And there was another wave made at the same position that indicates they must really trust their flexibility in the front seven for guys like Mike Morris and Leonard Williams and Byron Murphy to play a little bit on the edge if needed. Because, just to go ahead and spoil it, Nelson Caesar was also released. So that means you're looking at, with Nwosu starting the season injured, you've got Mafe, you've got Hall, and then you've got, Nwosu's going to be out at first. So then you've got Draymond Jones. And then you're going to have a bunch of stuff thrown together from guys like Morris, from guys like Williams, maybe even Murphy. And they've decided that's going to be good enough for now, which I'm not against it. And at the end of the day, one or both of those players, Nelson Caesar and Sheriff, will probably end up on the practice squad, so you can call them up the first couple weeks anyway. But yeah, that's a bold decision, I think, given the injury. And I know they added Gibson recently, but there's no guarantee he'll even be ready for opening day. There's no guarantee that you're going to get anything real out of him that's better than what you would have gotten out of Sheriff or Caesar. So, interesting decision, but it does indicate that there's trust in the depth of that edge room that isn't immediately apparent on a depth chart. Ty Okada was the next release. This is also kind of good news because it means Rayshon's probably okay. If Rayshawn was injured for a long time and was going to miss a lot of time, I don't think Okada would have immediately gotten booted like this. Now, we have to keep an eye on what happens with Marquise Blair over the next couple hours. If Blair sticks, that might still mean that Jenkins is going to miss some time and Blair becomes the temporary replacement. But Okada is gone, and I imagine that he will be a top candidate to be on the practice squad along with Blair as long as Jenkins is okay. John Radigan was the next release. This happened at about 11 this morning, and this is mostly a monetary decision. He was due about $3 million. Now we can bring him back on a much lower deal, or he signs with another team. I think we're going to want him on the 53-man. I think we will be willing to bend over backwards to make that happen because he has played pretty good this preseason, and he has value on special teams. But we couldn't justify the $3 million he was going to cost. So John Radigan, for the moment, has been waived. After that, Easton Gibbs, another linebacker, got waived. He was kind of a no-brainer. I don't even know if he's a likely practice squad candidate, but he is now off the team per Brady Henderson. Tom Pelissaro reported a little bit after that Aesop Winston was gone. He was a guy that a lot of people liked. A lot of people wanted to make this team. But the wide receiver room is very, very competitive and very, very crowded. And Aesop just was viewed, I think, as a little bit redundant. And just didn't quite bring enough to the table that they felt like they couldn't get him on the practice squad, which I imagine he will make the practice squad if he falls through here. So Aesop Winston, waived. Michael Ezeki was also waived, which was a no-brainer. He was only brought in for a couple of weeks because we had so many tight end injuries with Fant, Brown, and Westover. So Ezeki getting waived was kind of a forget about it kind of thing. That was an easy one. So no problems there. Nothing really to talk about there. He was never going to be here for more than like the rest of preseason. Mario Kendricks got waived per Pelissaro. Another defensive tackle that just really didn't stand out that much in a crowded defensive line room during the training camp period. So that one was very predictable. Patrick O'Connell getting waived, another linebacker. I do see him probably making the practice squad unless we're able to squeeze Radigan onto the practice squad, which I kind of don't think we'll be able to, but we'll see. We'll see. O'Connell played it pretty good in the preseason, and he was on the practice squad last year, so I feel like he'll find his way to the practice squad in all likelihood. Jordan Schultz dropped the big one a little bit ago. This is kind of the one a lot of people were waiting for. Dee Eskridge, or Dee Eskridge, however you want to put it, has been released finally, officially. This came from a couple other different sources as well. Dee Eskridge's time in Seattle is done. And remember, Dee Eskridge redid his contract several months ago. Dee Eskridge did a solid to the Seahawks on his contract to try to earn that job. He basically said, I'll give up some of my money so you guys have an easier time keeping me. And we still didn't keep him, which I think indicates how poor of a training camp he had. He, other than the punt return and a couple catches against the Browns, I didn't hear anything good about Eskridge this offseason. So it just wasn't enough. I know some people were thinking that punt return might have saved him, but I don't think that one play was ever going to outweigh the months and months of nothingness we got from Eskridge. So he's gone, probably going to get picked up because he is talented. And that basically leaves wide receiver 6 down to 2 guys. It's going to be Cody White or it's going to be Derek Young. As current information, they're both still here. So one of those 2 guys makes it, the other guy is hitting the bricks, maybe finding his way to the practice squad. If it's Cody White, I think he will make the practice squad. Derek Young, I think, might actually have a little bit of value to another team out there. Devire Levelston, defensive end, defensive lineman, has also been waived as of a little, just about an hour ago. So Levelston, kind of a no-brainer there as well. He never really had much of a shot. Nelson Caesar, like I said earlier, did get released. Should be some interest in him. I remember really liking him in the draft and was really happy we got him as a UDFA. I thought he might make the team because of the Uchenna injury at this point, but it looks like we're comfortable being pretty thin at edge, and then we're just going to count on some guys to be able to play temporary edge while we're waiting for Nwosu to come back. Guys like Morris, Williams, a little bit of Murphy. Should be fine. And Nelson Cesar might find his way to the practice squad. Don't count it out. He wasn't drafted, right? So there isn't that much interest in him. And the final update I have as of right now involves Tyler Mabry. He is going to be waived. Mabry has been a staple on the practice squad in Seattle for years now. Maybe he finds his way back. I don't know if he would take priority over a guy like Jack Westover, who I imagine will get released with some kind of injury designation or released outright in the next day or so. If it's not with an injury designation, then we are probably looking at having him on the practice squad instead. But if he's hurt and can't play this year or can't practice this year, maybe Tyler Mabry becomes that guy again. So there's more stuff trickling out every few minutes at this point, basically, but it's actually been quiet for over half an hour now. So I'm going to go ahead and get this video up. By the time you watch this video, we may already know more. And over the next several hours, we should get the full picture. But it seems like the Seahawks are content to just let things slowly matriculate. All right. See you guys later. Go Hawks. Another video coming later.